afternoon, Mr. Dominguez. I am Patricia Macias. So before we get started on today's session, I wanted to go over a few things that are very important. This being our first session, I do have to let you know what your limits of confidentiality are. Of course, everything we discuss here is confidential. There are obviously certain exceptions to that, and the first one would obviously be if you waive your confidentiality. The second one would be if you disclose any information of child or elder maltreatment, and then if you also pose any danger to yourself or to others, I am mandated to report that. And then the last one would be if for any reason I am subpoenaed or given a court order to provide the notes that I do take after your session, I have to render those. And so that is all we have to personally go through, aside from what you filled out in the lobby earlier. So with that being said, tell me a little bit about what brought you in today.
I think one of the things is I'm having work-related stress.
Okay, tell me more about that.
There's just a lot of things that go on at work that are kind of stressing me out. I guess there's two different aspects of my leadership, and one is telling me to do one thing while the other one's telling me to do something else.
Okay.
They're not communicating with each other, so I'm being pulled in different directions, and it's just kind of making me stressed out.
Okay. So just to clarify, you do work in the Army, you're active duty.
Active duty Army.
And you've been doing so for, it says, 10 years?
Yeah, 10 years, almost 11.
Okay. And so at this point in your career, you find yourself specifically where? Where is your place of duty, I suppose?
I work at Fort Sam. I'm an instructor for the 68 Alpha Biomeds, but I am also one of the 3 in my battalion that are certified for the ACFT. So I've been practicing and giving training for that, but then also the schoolhouse wants me to be actually in the schoolhouse teaching, but I can't be at 2 places at once.
Yeah, that definitely makes perfect sense. I just want to let you know also that we have water in case you need some.
Thank you.
So it's work-related stress. You feel that you're being pulled 2 different ways. Is there a specific person that you directly, who is your direct supervisor?
Well, my direct supervisor would be Sergeant Pinson. And then, so he works in the schoolhouse. But then also my first sergeant, he does more company stuff and stuff outside of the schoolhouse. So he's the one who's telling me to do the ACFT training. And then Sergeant Pinson is the one who's telling me I need to be in the schoolhouse.
Okay. And so I'm assuming, or correct me if I'm wrong, that your first sergeant and your first line don't talk to each other or
That's
communicate
correct.
where they're assigning you. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I also am aware that you do either monthly or quarterly counseling. Is that correct?
We're supposed to.
Okay.
Doesn't always happen.
Okay. So you haven't had an opportunity to sit down with both your first sergeant and your first line to discuss how you feel you're being pulled in 2 different directions?
No. And usually these counselings are only between me and my first line. So the first sergeant wouldn't be there usually.
Okay. And tell me a little bit more about the relationship you have with each, your supervisor and your first sergeant.
I mean, it's a pretty good relationship. They'll tell me if anything's going on. I'll tell them. It's pretty easy as far as communicating with both individually, but then
I apologize about that.
But then, I guess one will tell me something, and then the other one will tell me something, and they won't talk to each other.
And how comfortable are you with the open door policy of walking into your first sergeant's office and just kind of having a sit down about these grievances you are experiencing?
I feel comfortable doing it. I just didn't know that. I guess I wasn't aware that there was no communication between the 2 of them. So I guess that's what brought on all this stress on me.
Okay. So this is fairly recent?
Fairly recent, yes.
Okay. So I am hearing that you have a lot of responsibility to take care of at work. Aside from being pulled from two different directions, what are you doing to have me time? What are you doing to just stress at the end of the day when you get home? What is what you consider your alone time?
Well, for me, I usually wake up early and go to the gym before work.
Okay. So the gym is the
Yes.
place for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And this has been working out for you for quite a while, I
Yes.
suppose.
Yes.
Okay, so that's really good. I want to commend you for knowing exactly the type of resources that make you feel de-stressed. So in that situation, it doesn't seem like you necessarily need guidance on how to de-stress. It just sounds like maybe you could use some communication between your first line and your first sergeant. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and write up a few notes that I have to do, and then we can gather back together in about 5 minutes,
Okay.
and we can discuss how we plan on attacking this
Sounds
problem.
good.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Dominguez. I'll be
Thank you.
right back.